Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Jim and Doug show, but it's Jim and Steve today, and we're going to get to the name of our show at the end of our program. Steve, welcome again.
Hi, everybody.
So, listen, there's a lot of stuff we want to touch base on, and I think, before the show, Steve and I talked about the passing of Frank Robinson, which, from a Major League Baseball perspective, was a big deal. And I looked up his stats, and not that I needed to look up his stats, but what a ball player. Obviously, only the player to win the MVP in both leagues and so forth. And
Triple Crown winner, 1966. I think you and I kind of got that lost in the shuffle.
Yes, I did.
That Frank is old. He was 83 years old, retired as, number 4 all time in home runs upon his retirement, 586.
Yes, he was. Before all those other guys, piled on with their steroids and so forth. But that's quite an accomplishment with Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, and Willie Mays, obviously.
Absolutely.
What do you have, 586?
586 home runs compiled in both leagues with the Cincinnati Reds, Baltimore Orioles. And, of course, the first African-American manager, 1975, and you and I spoke about it. I am, for the record, 54 years old. So in 1975, if you do the math, I was 10 years old. And I remember that like it was yesterday. I remember Indians, and I want to say they opened up against the Yankees, or it was very early in the season.
Well, he was a player-manager, actually, which was unheard of, after Bill Russell kind of thing.
Right.
Hit a home run his first at-bat, I think, or at least the first game.
Could be.
And I think it was against the Yankees, now that you mention it.
But that was my first memory of Frank Robinson, and being 10 years old, I couldn't really understand the historic nature of what his career entailed. But when I heard he passed last week at age 83, I thought, again, back to our Hall of Fame debate, Hall of Famer Frank Robinson.
Without question.
Without question. And rest in peace, Frank. Another aspect of Frank Robinson's life, which I didn't know until his passing, was he played high school basketball with Bill Russell. I thought that was interesting. They both grew up in Oakland, California, and were lifelong friends. And Bill Russell, obviously, is Bill Russell,
wow,
an icon.
I didn't know that.
But I thought that was a cool little note.
And like I said, a lot gets lost in the shuffle from Frank Robinson being a player and people making this like he was the first African American. To me, that doesn't matter. He was a manager, and he became a great manager. He managed some lousy teams, but he was a tutor of baseball players.
Sure was.
What did he manage? The Giants, the Nationals, and
the Expos,
and the
Indians.
So I'm sure,
and he had, for the record, I looked up his stat as a manager. He had a losing record, but to your point, he
played on lousy teams.
Right, he didn't have a hell of a lot of talent to deal with, but like you said, he was a mentor to many ball players.
Oh, I bet.
Revered. He was part of, I think, Major League Baseball in the front office or the, in the commissioner's office.
Yes, he was.
Just a great ambassador.
And certainly a champion of civil rights and all that kind of stuff. But guys
was.
like, Vlad Guerrero, I bet owe their life to Frank Robinson.
In fact, I think I saw that Frank Robinson probably got the Presidential Medal of Freedom from, I want to say, George H.W.
I believe that's
so
true.
Like early 90s, but that goes to his civic, civil right background. But just, when I hear his passing, heard about it, he was just a great baseball player first and foremost, but more importantly, he was a great person, and I felt it was important for us to open our show and acknowledge Frank Robinson.
Without question.
What a class act he was.
He was a class act through and through, and like I said, rest in peace, Frank. And but what a career! What a career! Look at his numbers. He played actually I think I want to say 22 years.
He played at
But he
least
wasn't.
20.
But he wasn't a compiler like all these other guys
No,
were. I mean,
no,
he
when he
put his
won-
numbers up.
So when he won the Triple Crown in '66 for the Orioles, he had to be early 30s at that point. Maybe 34,
Maybe mid-30s.
right?
Yeah.
And not only did they win he win the Triple Crown, but the Orioles won the World Series that year, and that's a testament. And he in his life he referenced Jackie Robinson and
Rightfully so.
what Jackie Robinson went through, that Frank deferred to him, and let's be real, Frank was subject to the racial vitriol and everything else because he came up in the late 50s, and so he was subjected to that. But that just gets back to his character. He was a mean guy on that field, though, meaning
boy.
competitive. He didn't take crap.
He slid like Ty Cobb
Yeah,
used to.
he played hard. He played hard
But clean.
and clean, and I think again, just a great individual, and he'll be missed.
Absolutely. So let's move on. There's a lot of stuff we'll touch base on some stuff. Let's stay with Major League Baseball just for a second because I've been sitting here and we've all been sitting here wondering what's going on with this Harper and Machado, and I actually love it. I hope the owners are collude and say, we're not paying these guys $300 million. He should have taken, Harper at least was offered $300 million to stay in Washington, and he turned it down, thinking, what was he thinking? You're going to get $400 million from somebody?
Well, Scott Boras, I think, is his agent. Is that correct?
I think it's his agent, but so what? I mean,
Listen, we talked about Harper a couple times in the previous shows, and sometimes we're wrong in our predictions. And I made the statement I would have assumed by now they'd be signed, and I even made the statement on Super Bowl Sunday that I wouldn't be surprised from a PR standpoint that one of them at least would sign. But here we are. They're going to be reporting next week, I would think. Within 2 weeks, pitchers and catchers report. But the numbers when we heard in the offseason of the first $400 million player, 10-year deal, was it out of the realm of possibility that was going to happen? I don't think so. I don't think it was out of the realm. That being said, here we are on February 11th, and they're unsigned. And I don't even know if they're both even going to make over $200 million. At this point,
I don't know what's going on. I mean, I know the Phillies are interested in at least one of them.
Yeah.
And the Giants came in late and so forth. But, that number, we were talking about $400 million. That is just not going to happen. No. And I'm glad. Listen, I think the Yankees were more hot on Machado than they were on Harper. But, I told her, I said, this Machado, this laziness, I don't want to run out to first base kind of thing, was never going to play in New York. So I think that's hurt him too. So, like I said, you're right, Steve. Spring training is a week away, and these guys are reporting and so forth, and these guys don't have a team. I mean, somebody's going to sign them.
Right, for big money, but not nearly the amount of money we had anticipated.
I'm going to say not over $250. Not over $250.
I'll say, about $225 would be my guess.
Yeah.
I'll still say Phillies and White Sox seem to be
hot for him.
Hot for Machado. I could see him with the Phillies.
I see him more with the White Sox because his uncle or
it just
his
depends
cousin
on
there,
which one wants to write the bigger check. But the longer this goes on, the price is coming down.
Yes, it is.
And I think the years are coming down too, where, I think they all assumed they were going to get a 10-year deal. I can see maybe a 7. And with today's contracts, I can also see these escape clauses. So maybe in a couple of years, if it's not working out, in 2 or 3 years, each side has that ability to walk away from it. So I think...
Yeah, they're both what? They're both close to 30 at least, if they're not 30.
No, Bryce Harper's 26. Machado, I'm going to peg at 28, 27. And it seems like they should be 32, 33 because they both came up, as babies.
That's why I'm thinking it's going to be a 6-year deal, maybe with a 7th-year option out or something.
But I also don't discount now the Yankees because the price has come down I think, enough by where don't discount that Cashman is sitting there waiting. And like you said earlier, I think he has a hard on for Machado. Um, just don't discount it. I'm not predicting that, but don't discount it if the market comes back to where.
I'll be shocked if he ends up in New York. I'll be shocked. I'll
Right.
just be shocked.
But let's talk about who is deserving. Because I think Mike Trout, if I'm not mistaken, this is his last year.
I'd wait a year for him.
And I think he will hit the market unless, the Angels decide to pay him above market value to keep him in the fold. But when you're talking about $300 million,
You got to walk.
He's the guy that, based on his stats so far.
I'd be more than willing to wait a year and sign him next year and let these other two go somewhere else.
Right,
Yeah.
but Mike Trout is more than worthy of a deserving contract like that.
No question.
So.
All right, so listen, let's move on to a couple of things. Let's talk about the NFL. It was kind of I'm not sure if it was an earth-shattering decision, but Kyler Murray decided he's going to play football. Now,
So far, he decided he's going to be eligible for the draft. He's going to go through all the combines and everything else.
but he made a statement today saying, I want to be an NFL quarterback.
Okay.
And we remember his father, Kevin Murray, was a quarterback at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And but I look at the guy's got a rocket arm and he's tough to catch, and you know what, the game has changed. The drop back quarterback is a kind of a dying breed, but he doesn't look like he's 5'11" or 6 feet tall. I'm sorry,
He doesn't certainly play 6 feet, 6'4".
he looks like he's 5'8". I mean, he looks small.
He's a first-round draft pick. There's no question.
Somebody's going to take his first round.
Listen, he had better numbers than Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. Obviously they both won the Heisman, which is quite an accomplishment, having back-to-back quarterbacks do it at one school.
No question.
But his stats were slightly better than Baker. Great athlete. His Heisman speech, I never really heard him speak before. Very humbled kid. Like you said, his father was Kevin Murray at Texas A&M, so he comes from the pedigree.
And somebody else said is either his uncle or somebody played in the NFL, and I don't remember.
Well, we can look that up, but
I just see the highlights and I go, okay, I think he could make it in this NFL game today.
So
which
let me ask you a question. Does that mean the New York Giants would be sniffing Kyler Murray? Because all tea leaves indicate if they go quarterback, Dwayne Haskins. I don't know now. What do you think?
Well, I think now that he's thrown his hat in the ring officially and said he wants to, because like I said, these other ones, everyone's picking Bosa and Gary and all the defensive guys and so forth. But yeah, this could throw off the whole thing.
Right. And a lot of these teams ahead of the Giants, so for their fans, the Giants picked 6 this year.
Yeah.
And I think all the teams in front of them, the Jets included, are all really don't have that need for a quarterback right now.
Certainly not.
However, the teams post, 7, 8, 9, and down to 32, the Giants now have to be aware that somebody may want to jump them. Now listen, you got the combine coming up, and this kid, Kyler Murray, could actually really improve his draft stock. I think, when I'm looking at it now, I would say Miami might be a very good destination. They picked 13, where that makes sense for where he is now.
And they'd be willing to move up.
But if somebody may move up, so the Giants actually may be in a position where, similar to what the Jets had to do with McCagnon, get to number 3 to secure Darnold. Not that they knew they were going to have Darnold. However, I still see a team can move up and supplant the Giants and take Kyler Murray. I wouldn't be surprised.
And listen, with the way the draft board, if we look at it and assume nobody's going to make any changes, I think this throws off the whole thing. Right. And this could change a lot of things. And, somebody's be willing to take 2 number 1s to drop 3 spots if they don't need somebody. That's how deep the defense, the defensive line is. So these guys can wait around if they want.
Right.
I think the draft is going to be one of the most active drafts in years, and I think it's because Kyler Murray he wants to play football.
Right.
No.
So we'll stay tuned on that because it's February and we only have, another 2.5 months of draft talk to speak about.
Of course, it's 73 days and counting. I guess,
Exactly.
I just wanted to touch base because you and we talked about our Super Bowl thing, and there's a couple of, the Hall of Fame thing with Champ Bailey. We
Right.
looked it up,
We did.
and we stand corrected because he did not win a Super Bowl.
He did not.
He actually played for Denver in the Super Bowl that they lost and was
Right.
cut the next year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I try to go from memory on that one, and I was wrong.
no, we'll take that.
Yes. But I found it, even when you told me he didn't win a Super Bowl, I was still like, really? Wow. And for me, like I said in our previous show, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I do. You had a
I
little
think
bit
he
of
got
question,
in a little early.
little
but,
early. But I really think he was a good ball player and deserving.
Yeah, so listen, a couple other quick things with the NFL. And I wanted to bring this up to you because you're you're the Dallas Cowboy historian. I had a conversation with a very good friend of the show, Jim Smith from Westchester County. And we were talking about it, like when Gil Brandt gets introduced into the Hall of Fame, who is going to introduce him?
Well, we talked about it. I'm staying firm, Jerry Jones,
Oh no,
because he's going to make it about himself.
I think this is
And I wanted Roger Staubach to be the guy.
and now I changed my mind, and we talked about this with Mr. Smith. I'm going to say Bob Lilly.
That's not a bad guess.
Bob Lilly
And
was
I
his
would love
first
that.
draft pick, and
That would be great.
but I don't think he's going to have anything to do with Jerry Jones. Not anything.
Well,
It's going to be Staubach or Bob Lilly, and that's it. And if it's anybody else, I can't imagine who it is,
And
unless
let-
it's Clint Murchison's daughter or
Well,
something. I don't know.
I mean, for the record, I think I stated I've been a Dallas Cowboy fan my whole life. Roger Staubach is my all-time favorite athlete. Bob Lilly, of course, is way up there. I'm just trying to be objective here, and with the ego of Jerry Jones, I'm going to stick to Jerry making it about himself.
But I don't think he has any say in
I
this.
think, well, listen, Lily and Roger will have their gold jackets on. I'm hoping they're right next to him, but
Me
I think
too.
Jerry's going to, we welcome, Gil long overdue, and
I
that
can't
type of
say it,
nonsense. But
that's my.
I would love to converse with Mr. Smith, who's, I think, another fellow Cowboy fan.
But that's my early thing. I'm
Okay.
leaning toward Robert Lilly, and that would be awesome.
Right.
That would be great.
Right.
Listen, Gil Brandt's 85. Hopefully he's still around.
Well, I was just going to go on that. I texted a couple of my other Cowboy friends, and we talked about it. And February's a long way from August. Gil is not exactly a young chicken anymore, but I hope he is healthy and
Me too.
And he can make it there, and
Me too.
It's well deserved.
So we'll stay tuned for that. But I just wanted to put something else out because I got a call today from another one of our friends from Naples, Florida, Mike Garvey.
Okay.
And he texted me, he says, what's going on with Todd Gurley? And I think we touched on this a little bit. I said when he dropped those 2 passes against New Orleans, he moved into Sean McVay's doghouse.
Right.
And he gave him a shot. And I'm not saying C.J. Anderson is the answer or if he's better than Todd Gurley. But I think McVay, and I watched him very closely when they were talking about it after the game about, he's a great guy and this, but you could tell he blew up something or something. That relationship is broken. So I'm going to put this out, and I'm just going out on the record. I can see a blockbuster deal with him sending Gurley somewhere, either the Pittsburgh Steelers and Le'Veon Bell ending up in Los Angeles.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. What we had talked on Gurley, and for
Not that I would pay Le'Veon Bell $14 million. He left that on the table. I'm not sure but he can. If that's the one piece that Sean McVay thought he was missing in that Super Bowl.
But let's be real. So, let's talk about Gurley. So, we watched him at Georgia. High draft pick. been very successful first 2 years. Deserved the contract that he got.
But blew out his knee.
I'm not.
You know.
If I'm not wrong, I think he's the highest paid running back right now. If I'm not mistaken. So he better be hurt. Okay, he better be hurt, because for him not to be playing in these big games, the championship game and the Super Bowl, he better be hurt. That's all I got to say for his defense.
I think there's more to it than
I
that.
do too. I think Todd Gurley got his money, and I can't speak to this as a fact, but I would not be surprised if he turned into a malcontent, or because he got this money, maybe took a step back. But he better be hurt. He just better be hurt.
But I think it's more about McVay saying, wait a minute, you know, either, you know, he's not the player I thought he was, or he doesn't have the heart because he put C.J. Anderson in there who got all the spotlight.
Or the trust. He did not trust this kid, right? And it wasn't like he didn't play in the Super Bowl. He got a couple carries. He had a flash. I think he had a 15-yard run.
But
But the
overall,
point was he only
25
got
yards.
4 or 5 yards, which goes to the Rams' game plan, right? So, you know, we talked about that in the Super Bowl with Goff, and I even made that comment to you. How come they're not going to the shotgun? Well, you know why? Because their offense is predicated on play action, with Gurley running amok, and then Goff could then drop back and throw it downfield. So I don't know what's up. We're going to find out soon enough. But Gurley, if he was hurt, I think we probably would have heard about it by now. That he's going to Dr. Andrews in Birmingham for a scope or whatever it's going to be on the knee.
But I think that's one of the big issues. And like I said, no one's even mentioned Le'Veon Bell. You know why? Because he's looking for $14 million a year and whatever. However, I'm not saying C.J. Anderson is the answer, but I think that had something to do with it. And I wouldn't. Yes, Bell is a malcontent, and he's a cancer in the locker room.
And somebody's going to pay him $14 million.
But if Sean McVay thinks he can get that one season out of him to do that, exactly, their whole offense is predicated on play action.
Yeah, but what you're saying is you're then trading one malcontent for another malcontent.
But we don't know about Gurley.
I don't.
We only know about Bell.
Potential malcontent. We know Le'Veon's a malcontent. Like Antonio Brown. Let's shift gears on Antonio Brown.
We can go there all day long.
Right. But where is he going to wind up? I mean, that's a storyline that should be discussed. He's out of Pittsburgh because he burned his bridges there.
Well, both of them are out of Pittsburgh and so forth. But I'm going to say this: Bell didn't drop 2 big passes in the playoffs.
No, he didn't.
Sean McVay.
No.
That's why I'm saying he could live with this cancer for 1 year if it's going to get him a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll talk about that going forward. I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
One last thing on the NFL. It was kind of funny because I saw this thing and these guys were talking about can Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying he's on the downside of his career, but he's gotten some banged around a little bit and so forth. Can he coexist with Matt LaFleur? I said, do you think Aaron Rodgers didn't pick the head coach? I mean,
or sign off on that.
Exactly. So already, these guys in sports are talking about, already there's tension, or they're not sure they can coexist. How ludicrous is that?
Right.
He picked LaFleur.
No, there's no question.
He picked him.
No, there's no question.
I mean, Rodgers is to the NFL like LeBron James is to the NBA.
No, I agree.
They are the general manager, coach, and star player on the team.
I will just say I was a little stunned that Matt LaFleur is now the Green Bay Packers head coach from a storied franchise of what it is. And listen, Mike McCarthy was a great coach in Green Bay. He certainly was.
And he'll be a great
Big
coach
shoes
somewhere
to
else
fill.
again. Somewhere else.
I just, based on his resume, Matt LaFleur, I don't know. I was a little surprised on that.
But I just thought
you're right. You're right. Aaron Rodgers absolutely signed off on that.
No question about it. So listen, let's change gears here for a second because there's a bunch of stuff we want to cover. And we talked about this the other day. It was the 25th anniversary of the New York Rangers Stanley Cup Championship.
Yes,
which was, not even being from New York, you had to appreciate, how great it was. Like a Cubs fan was if they won it and so forth. But it was exciting time in New York, and we had the marquee guy in the league. We gave up anything to get him, and he delivered.
He delivered.
I mean, we talk about Joe Namath. This guy delivered.
He delivered.
I mean,
Mark Messier is right up there with, in our opinion, I think it's pretty safe to say the greatest team leader in sports.
I agree.
Unquestioned character, toughness, production, you name it. He did everything.
and it was the only thing missing from that team, and he delivered.
He delivered.
I mean,
So there were a couple things. So on MSG, I really highly recommend for those that have not seen it. I'm sure you can tape it or search for it. But the Garden did a wonderful, wonderful job Friday night. They had the team back. The 25th anniversary is this year, and they celebrated it. And everybody on the team made it. There were only two that didn't. Brian Noonan had a coaching commitment. I think he coaches like junior hockey or something, so you have to understand, he's all about the kids and fully get that he missed it, but he was acknowledged. And the late Alexander Potsy Karpatsev, passed away in a plane crash in 2011.
was he on that?
Absolutely was, number 25.
All the Russian amateur, the
Absolutely.
KHL team.
Yeah. So,
Oh my
so
God.
Potsy was represented by his wife and daughter,
Awesome.
and it was a little emotional. But I got to tell you, I'm watching this. I'm 54 years old, and Jim and I were at our mom's condo actually for the Game 7 clincher, and we were sitting across from each other. And I'm not ashamed to admit this, that we welled up. It was probably, it's up there with the greatest sports moments I think that we watched or were part of.
And it was literally sports history, and it just
was.
not
The
just 'cause
emotion was just so fantastic.
and they made us sweat it out right to the end.
Of course.
I mean, Game 7, it literally went down to the last 6 minutes of the game.
So there were a couple other things about how magical that season was. Was the Rangers, I think, had a 14-game unbeaten streak.
They won the President's Trophy.
Mike
that
Richter
season.
had a 20-game unbeaten streak. They beat the Islanders in the first round. Then they beat the Washington Capitals in the second round. And then let's get to the New Jersey Devils series where it was great. And that goes to, again, we could actually do a full day on Mark Messier. But I'll never forget that Game 6 at the Devils. And we're sweating we're down 3-2, I believe, in the series. And we got to win. And guess what? Daily News, New York Post, I guarantee we win tonight. Or we will win tonight, I believe was the headline.
Was the exact headline.
And now the Rangers went down 2-0 in the game, early in the game. And we chipped away, and Messier scores again, right? Now it's 3-2, and the Devils are pressing, and this, that, and the other thing. And boom, he gets the empty netter for the hat trick. It was unbelievable. Now it goes to Game 7 at the Garden a couple nights later. And for just reminiscing on this, the Devils tied the score with 7 seconds left in regulation.
Right, and all we're
7
thinking is
seconds
this is going to slip
Here
away
we
from
go
us.
again, and our hearts are going to be broken.
Yeah.
Double overtime. They
Right.
get to the Mato. So we credit Howie Rose for that call. And and then obviously the celebration that ensued. We get to the Stanley Cup final. You get to the Mike Richter play on Beret.
And I think we were actually down 2-0 against
Not on
Vancouver.
that. No.
Against Vancouver?
No, I don't think so.
I think we were.
But we can look that up.
I think we may have been.
Brian Leach, let's not forget him. Brian became the first American to win the Conn Smythe that year in the playoffs.
It just all came together.
And it just all came together. So my point is this celebration night that they had was so well done. You could just see the love of these teammates. And as they talked about that season, Mike Keenan came out. Neil Smith was there. they were all there, and it was just a great night. It brought back great memories. It's one of the
Great
again,
moments in sports. Not
great,
even just hockey, guys.
right.
This was,
For our show and for our family, Ranger
great.
fans, it was just a great night, and you know, we just wanted to reflect. You know, time flies. It's 25 years already. And guess what? We still haven't won the cup in 25 years. But here I want to finish with. So the tagline by a fan was, "Now I can die in peace."
Right.
And you know what? When I tell people about this Ranger experience, so on and so forth, do I get as angst when we don't win now? No, I still get not happy. But if they didn't have this cup in 1994, I tell you, we'd be like the Chicago Cubs and the Red Sox back in the day.
But that was a great sign. One guy, he must have been a season ticket holder for 40 years.
Right.
And got it. Right, that was great.
And Sam Rosen, and his call was, "This one will last a lifetime," and it was just everything came together, phenomenal.
But led by, literally, when we talk about a team captain who led by example, by talent, and by toughness, this guy, I don't know. Listen, Wayne Gretzky's the greatest hockey player ever.
Most certainly.
But was Wayne Gretzky have the whole package like Marc Messier?
No.
After Gretzky got traded, Messier still won a Stanley Cup with the Edmonton Oilers.
Right.
So, anyway, that was great to reflect on. Let's stay with hockey, and I'm going to defer to my partner here. It's the Bean Pot tournament this weekend. Tonight's the final.
Okay.
So give us a little 2-minute thing on the Bean Pot and how important it is to New England.
Oh my God, it's
you being a Boston University grad and so forth.
Yeah, the Bean Pot is very special in New England. You got Harvard, Northeastern, BC, and BU. It's 4 teams, and they play the previous week. I forget how they will seed them, but
so they already had the first round.
Okay.
Tonight is the finals. BC versus Northeastern.
Okay. Yeah.
And BU is playing Harvard in the consolation game.
Right. So.
And the Bean Pot, just for the record, is a breeding ground for NHL.
Well, let me talk about my experience. So when I went to BU in the 83 to 87, for Northeastern, I'll throw out Chris Nyland played for Northeastern.
Oh.
Boston at BU was, let me see, we had Scott Young was on the team, who was a 2-time Olympian.
Gold medal.
John Cullen was on the team. John was a probably 15-year guy for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yep.
Boston College was represented by Brian Leach and Kevin Stevens.
And
Harvard.
Ultimately, Chris Kreider, Ranger.
Harvard, I'll throw out like a Ted Donato type of guy. There's plenty that came through Harvard as well. But my point is, from a college atmosphere, the game was at the old Boston Garden, which is now, TD Arena. It's packed to the gills. You get the alumni back. It's just a great atmosphere for hockey, for college hockey in New England, in Boston specifically. And there's been a long line of NHLers that have played in that.
And I wanted to bring it up because it's we talked about hockey and so forth. So yeah, but tonight consolation game is at 4:30 this afternoon, and tonight is the final. So, but good stuff. Listen, this is another show here we wanted to just touch base with. I wanted to bring something up because my other partner Doug, he's got some other priorities and so forth, and he's always going to be associated with the show.
Absolutely. Looking forward to Doug staying a part of the show, and I'd like to thank Doug personally for everything that he's done up to this point, and we look forward to continuing a relationship with Doug and being part of the show as we grow.
And we'll let you guys know. We're finalizing the name of the show going forward. We're still on the fence, but we're actually close, and we're going to let you guys know on our next show what the name is. We're leaning toward Steve, go ahead. I'll let you break
Right.
the news.
Well,
here.
after 743 revisions, I think we're down to mono sports is what we're leaning towards. And listen, we'd like to hear back, from you guys too. We'd love some suggestions.
The Jim and Doug Show at Gmail is still a valid email and so forth.
And right, and again, we're going to get a website. We're going to get up on social media, and we're going to link all this together. But I think right now we're leaning towards it, unless we think of something more creative. But mono, MONO, the number 2, mono, MONO, sports.
And just for the record, we were that was kind of our nicknames growing up.
Right.
It was short for Monahan,
Even though nobody can spell Monahan to this day, et cetera, et cetera. So, but mono was short for our nicknames for the most part amongst our friends and teammates and the like. So,
but this is going to be our show going forward. And like I said, we'll have Doug on. We're lining up some other guests and so forth. And yes, soon as we ramp up on our social media, we look forward to you guys chiming in, giving us some thoughts, and send us some emails in the interim. And this is going to be a show that's really going to cover up a lot of sports. Today was a good example, right? Football, baseball, hockey.
right.
Don't want to touch on basketball right now because we'll get onto that as college basketball starts ramping up. But and again, so Steve, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I love having you here. We got a lot to bring on. So, like I said, before we sign off for today, just want to touch base. Like I said, our sponsors and certainly they're going to be our sponsors going forward with Mono to Mono Sports was Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, Harley Davidson of Utica, and DeFilippi's Bakery of Monticello. They've been loyal to us, and we look forward to their partnership going forward.
No doubt. No doubt.
So we will check back with you guys. Thanks for joining us this week, and we will touch base with you. Hopefully, we're going to do the show more than once a week.
Right.
Looking forward to doing at least twice a week, and as we start to grow and stuff, it's going to be more than that. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a good week, and
Have a good week, everybody. We'll talk again soon.
be good.